All right, go ahead and call to order this meeting of the Ames Parks and Recreation Commission for Thursday, July 18th. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the May 16th and June 20th, 2024 meetings. Anyone care to second? A motion is on the table to approve the minutes from the 16th and June 20th meetings. Is there right? All in favor of approval of minutes, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Seeing none, the motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the public forum. This is an opportunity for members of the public to speak. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. And you can hand the speaker card to Katie and just leave it on the table. You can fill it out afterwards. That's fine.
I'm Norma. I was very upset with the city council meeting last time. Was cut off by Mayor Hala. I wanted to speak about the park across the street, and he cut me off, and I'm really upset by all of that.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that. I'm sorry to hear you have a concern about that, but thank you for sharing. Are there anyone else here to speak on public forum? If there's no one else, I'll go ahead and close public forum. Next item on the agenda is a motion approving the Friends of Ada Hayden to waive enforcement of the prohibition of motorized vehicles at Ada Hayden Heritage Park.
So this is something that the Friends of Ada Hayden Heritage Park have done for several years. Prior to that, Moose Lodge used to do it. It's really an opportunity for individuals with mobility impairments, mobility issues to get out and see the park. The Friends, they rent golf carts for the day. They provide insurance to us for liability insurance. And then they also supply all the drivers who take individuals around and explain different aspects of the park, wildlife, what they're trying to accomplish with the park. So it's been very well received. So with this, they're going to do this on September 9th and 10th of this year. They used to do one day and then have a second day as a rain date, but they are now just doing 2 days of tours. They have gotten more people involved. And this year, what they want to do is at, I believe it's 6 o'clock on Monday the 9th, they're inviting commissioners and council members out for a tour. So I think they're going to send out a separate letter, but if something that you're interested, put it on your calendars for 6 o'clock on September September 9th. And, they'll take you around the tour, and you'll be able to learn and see the same things that all these other individuals will do. The commission does not have the authority to waive an ordinance. So really what you're asked to do is recommend to city council to waive have them waive the ordinance. So staff is suggesting or recommending alternative number one, which is to recommend city council approve the waiver.
Any questions for Keith, or would someone care to make a motion?
I make a motion to accept alternative one.
All right, motion on the table to recommend to the city council to waive the enforcement of the ordinance regarding motorized vehicles at Ada Hayden Heritage Park on September 9th and September 10th. Is there any additional discussion? Great program every year. Glad to see this continuing. So, all in favor of recommending alternative one, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Seeing none, the motion carries.
Just remember Jeff Isles was
Oh,
on that.
sorry,
So
Jeff.
sometimes there's a little bit of a delay. We might need to wait for him
Okay.
to respond.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is an update regarding the Gardner Plaza ice skating ribbon and the city council staff report that was presented.
Yeah, so last week we did take this topic to city council, and there's a lot of information in the staff report with it. So it's more for information purposes, but just really wanted to let the commission know that I have questioned, what's taking so long. Initially, when we started this project, I believe we were hoping that the spray pad would have been opened in July of 23. Here we are in July of 24, and we're still not open. So a number of different things, but one of the biggest issues that we have had is with the ice skating ribbon. The concrete was poured in December, and then it was covered, cured for 2 weeks. And we had the cold weather, and the snow in January, and then it started getting nice again. Josh and I, we went and looked at the ice ribbon in February after Josh had heard something about the condition of it. So we went and looked at it, and we found the surface of the ice skating ribbon to be unacceptable. And with it, there's a number of things, and it's spelled out in the staff report. But there are voids, the tubing is telegraphic, the concrete. There are just rough spots. There are pock marks where stones have come out. Very inconsistent surface, safety concerns. So we started having conversation with Confluence, who is the designer, also with ICE, who is the ICE system or contractor, and then also with Henkel Construction, who is the general contractor. And the city has contracts with Henkel Construction and general contractor, and also with Confluence as kind of the project lead and also the landscape architect for the project. So we started having conversations, and through that, Confluence, Everything ICE, and Henkel, as well as the city, agreed that the surface was unacceptable. So we started looking at different options, and some of that was spelled out in the staff report. But really, where we're at right now is there are two options that are presented to the city. One is to remove and replace the ice skating ribbon. That's to take all the concrete out, all the tubing, all the rebar, the wire mesh, everything that's in there. Take that all out and replace it. And with that, we could in this option get exactly what we wanted with it. Excuse me, we'd have a surface free of safety hazards and aesthetic issues, those types of things. But there are some cons associated with it as well. And one of the things that is a concern is that if we remove and replace, if that's the path that this goes down, is will Hank be able to find a consultant, because there is concern that everything ICE may default on the project, and if that's the case, will there be another contractor that is willing to do the project? And not only if they do find somebody, a contractor to do the project, will that contractor agree to use the equipment that's already been installed? So the chiller in the building, and the condenser outside. Through this process, we found that contractors are very specific, to the equipment that they use, and if they're not working with a specific supplier, they really don't want to use their equipment. So that's another concern. Also concerned that we could redo this and wind up with the same surface as what exists over there right now. So there are some risks associated with option number one. Option number two is to do some type of a coating over the surface, grind down the surface, got the high spots, fill in the low spots, and then put what Henkel is suggesting right now is a cementitious product. It's from Euclid Chemicals. There's really 5 different products that they're suggesting. One is called Quick Stitch, which would fill all the holes, all the low spots, or the cracks, I should say. That fills the cracks. And then you put a primer down, and then you use a product called Recover, which is a cementitious product. And that could go down in potentially 1 to 3 applications, because you can only put it down in the maximum of 3 time. And we have, I think, the biggest bird bath is 3/4 of an inch deep. So with that, and then on top of that, when that's done, then you put a curing agent on, which has to sit for 30 days, and that dissipates. And then once that's the time to dissipate, then you put a sealer over the top of it. So a number of different things. Now, Henkel did do a mock-up of just the Recover, so that's this product, and they called us on Monday morning of July 1st, was it? It might have been. Yeah, July 1st. Called Joshua and said, "Hey, we're going to put this product out today." And so Joshua went down. They were grinding. They did have their site. Henkel had their site superintendent there. Site superintendent left. Joshua went, left for a little bit, came back about 10:30, and they just finished the grinding, and they were starting to put this Recover product down. So the idea was to put this Recover down, and then there were 2 options for the surface, either a sweat finish, knockdown finish. So that's what we wanted to see what that looked like. Well, the installers that were there, in talking with Joshua, had mentioned that they had never worked with the product before, and they had to watch a video to see how it was to be put down. And when they started pouring it, Joshua described it as almost like a grout or a mortar. It was supposed to come out much more fluid, and you could spread it with a squeegee, but they really had to work hard to get it down. And Joshua at 11 o'clock called the site superintendent from Henkel and said, "Hey, you need to come over here and see this product. Where are you at?" And he goes, "Yeah, I'll be there shortly." Called him again at 5 to 12. "Hey, you really need to get over here and see this product. So long story short, we were not impressed with the product. Henkel said, "Yeah, we heard that, what had happened. We mixed up a batch in our shop, we poured it out, and we were able to spread it with a squeegee, so we don't know what happened." We did express frustration that they didn't have their site superintendent on site. We didn't have manufacturer's rep on site, and they suggested that they'd like to do another mock-up. And we said, well, if we do another mock-up, we're going to ask is that you put this down, what the Euclid Chemical rep recommended, which is what I described earlier, products and so on. So we had a meeting, and what was discussed there is between Henkel, Confluence, and the city of Ames, do we have the expertise for this unique situation? If it was just concrete, it was just 5 inches of concrete, that would have already been ripped out and replaced. But the fact that it's a refrigerated slab, and there's a lot of tubing and a lot of other things, in there, that's a concern. And we also had concerns of when it was poured, was it done properly? Were there some things that they poured concrete that was maybe outside the specifications? So a lot of questions. So we said, we're really at a point where we need to hire a concrete expert. Somebody that really look at this, review the surface, review the pour, review all the documents that we have, review the products, the options. Maybe there's something else that this expert has done in a situation to correct it. So with that, we thought we had an agreement with everybody, but then Henkel said, no, we think we already have all the information we need, or the city has all the information that you need to make a decision. We did not feel that way. So really what we went to council last week is to get their guidance, direction, and what we asked them to do is we really feel like we need to hire an expert. And what council did was they did make a motion to direct staff to hire a concrete expert to come in, do the things that I explained. That person will come in and review everything and then make a recommendation to us and to council to see where do we go from here. Now, one thing that I didn't mention is if we rip out and replace, we could delay the ice skating for up to 24 months, which means that we wouldn't have skating until November of 26. If we were to use this coating, cementitious product, we could be skating this fall, November of 24. But again, there's risks associated with each one, and there is no clear one choice to go with. So council did, like I said, did direct staff to do that. So we have had some conversations with an individual. We don't have anybody under contract yet, but we're working through that aspect of it. But really, what we want to do tonight, and what we did, last week, was really to bring council up to speed on things, bring the commission up to speed on where we're at, why we're at such a delay, and what could be coming in the future. So, I know Joshua, Courtney, did I miss anything? Questions?
Keith, if we go with the option to do the coat, what's that going to do to the quality of ice, knowing that there's a specification on how wet those need to be? Now you're going to add another almost, sounds like half an inch or better on there?
Yeah.
Can the cooling system handle that?
Yeah. So that's one of the things we don't know.
Oh.
you know, and that's one of the questions that we have been asking, because one of the things we asked Euclid Chemical was, can you give us a letter that this product is appropriate for the refrigerated slab? And they would not, you know, give us a letter. You know, so Henkel has said, it's like, well, you know, the freeze thaw of you know, the ice slab should be different than a regular slab of concrete, and they put this coating on up in Minnesota. They have a lot more freeze thaw cycles and everything. And when we asked what you are recommending with these 5 products in the order that you are recommending, have you ever put these products down in that order on any product? And they said, no, probably not. So it would be new territory. One thing, you know, with if we were to go to a coating, if we were to go to the coating, they do recommend that it's sealed every 3 years at a cost of about $9,000. And then we don't know, and concern that that has been brought up with these different layers, is there potential of delamination? So if that happens, we may have to grind down, you know, to get to a solid layer, and then put down additional coats of this. And if we had to do that every 15 years, so Henkel did offer that if we went with the coating, they did offer to give the city $50,000 to offset maintenance and replacement as needed. When we did our figuring with concrete, when we put that down, we generally will put it down in the park system. We pretty much don't do a whole lot to it for 30 years. We do get cracking, we get some heaving, we have to replace a panel here and there, we have to do some things. But for the most part, we don't have to do a lot of maintenance with it. But so because of that, what we did is we took, if we had to reseal this every 3 years, we took that cost, we used 5% inflation, with the cost of replacement, which could be about $20,000. You know, that we used the 5% inflation on that. If they gave us $50,000, we used a 3% return on investment. And we kind of figured that all out. And what we found is that to get us the 30 years, and actually we got to 27 years before the city had to put money in, it would take $125,000 upfront just to cover those costs. So we're looking at this from a lot of different angles and things. So that's where we're at. So yeah, so there is concern, but we don't know the answer to that question. Will that affect the freezing of the ice? People have guessed and said no, it shouldn't. But how do we know that? And we don't get the answers. Jeff, you had a question?
Do you think that's the cost for the replacement we might be able to consult?
So with that, we did ask Henkel to cover that cost. They declined. They said they would not cover that cost. City Council has at this point said the city, we would cover the cost. If at some point this goes to litigation, that would probably be a cost that we would try to recover through that litigation process. But there's we just don't know how this is all going to shake out. But as of right now, the city is bearing that cost.
I have a quick question, and it may be a simple question, and I know you guys have done your homework, but have you looked at other places that this everything ice has formed? Like, are there other ice rinks in the area that they've worked on? I mean, have they done poor work everywhere, or is it just the situation? Or, I mean, how have they handled it in other places? They had to have laid other.
Yeah, no, they have done a lot of rinks throughout. They're out of Pennsylvania. We've done a number of links in the East Coast with it. What we have heard from everybody, nobody's ever had nobody's had this situation before.
So we know that our cement is worse than someone else's that they've laid, or our standards just higher. What do you think?
No, I don't think our standards are any different. So should maybe a clarification. So everything ICE is the ICE system contractor.
Okay.
So they're in charge of doing everything. Now they laid the pipes. Their crews came in, laid the pipes, did the installation, and so on. But what they did is then they contracted with a concrete company to actually do the concrete.
The concrete.
Yes, the finish on the concrete, safety issues, and the aesthetics. I don't know if that helps you.
Well, it does. I'm just wondering, this team has probably done this elsewhere. I just wondered if we had looked at that and seen what happens on the other jobs that they've done.
Yeah.
They had to, so they obviously haven't had to use the layers in any of their jobs because they've never done that.
But no, I don't think that's ever come up.
No.
That
This just happens to be a bad apple. I mean,
and then the pour itself was a tough pour from the standpoint of there are no expansion joints, there are no control joints. Like even in sidewalks, you can see that every 4 or 5 feet, whatever it is. Those are there for a reason.
Right.
But this surface, the way it was designed, was that there were none of those. So when they started to pour in one spot, they had to pretty much go through and do the whole thing. One monolithic pour. They had to get the surface right, and that's why there are some issues. We knew this was a concern
right.
with it. So prior to the pour, actually in November, Josh attended that meeting with representatives from the concrete contractor, from Everything Ice, from Confluence, from Henkel, the city, and so on. And there were a number of things that were said. Hey, this is how it's going to be poured. This is what is going to have to happen. You can't put any water after it's laid. We want a medium broom finish. You can't have a cold joint, meaning that it's got to be poured, continuously, and so on. So the concrete contractor, their representative at this meeting was their estimator, the project estimator. The project estimator was not on site when the pour was done, and when we met with Henkel and Ice and the concrete contractor, some of the staff from the concrete contractor, we were saying, well, hey, but what about this? Did you guys do this? And it was like the first time that they had heard it. So there's it's kind of, our contract is with Henkel, right? Henkel is contracted with Everything Ice. Everything Ice is contracted with the concrete contractor. So there's a lot of layers here, but that's why our conversation is with Henkel. It's your contract is with us, our contract is with you, so you need to make this right for us. So then they're having a conversation with their subs, and then their subs with their subs.
Got it.
Things. It's kind of it's a complicated thing, but I have to say that there's a lot of experience throughout the city, and nobody has really come across the situation.
Well, and how we came about all this, obviously the surface appears doesn't look unacceptable in our opinion. But as Keith and I dug into this, we had the engineer was on site. There was an engineer that was for Everything Ice that helped, certify the specifications, certify the concrete mix, all those things. He was on site, and he noted a lot of things, and mentioned those things to Henkel. Stop me if I go too far, Keith. But
well, I think one thing though, it's It wasn't the engineer for everything ice. It was an engineer for
Correct, Confluence. So it noted a lot of different things like, we had a concrete tester out there was testing the slump, was testing slump, and air entrainment, all those things that were part of the specification that we talked about, and it was certified by the engineer. And when those things were pointed out, it just continued to keep progressing, keep going. There was how many trucks? 6 trucks that were out of compliance. Is that right? That they tested
with the air entrainment, and there were I think a couple of
and also some mechanics as far as how the crew operated, as far as equipment. That was, they said they were going to have it, but they didn't have it. So there was some things right from the get-go.
Yeah. And then one thing that didn't mention in the staff report, it was mentioned that that there was Henkel did have some ground penetrating radar study done as of last week. Tuesday with the council meeting, we did not have those results. We did get those results late last week, and they tested 6 areas. And 2 of the 6 areas, it does show that there's some voids or indicative of honeycombing, and that has a concern for us as well. So that's why we get the expert, hire an expert. That person will look through all of this stuff. But that's why there were questions early on about the integrity of the concrete. Now the strength test, those passed. Those actually exceeded the strength of the concrete, exceeded the parameters. It just and all of this has taken a lot of time. And so that's where we're at. So, other questions?
Were the requirements for the concrete and the tolerances based upon floor slabs or on the ice rink slabs? I mean, when you got a lot of piping in there and a lot of reinforcement, it's a little bit different and hard to puddle if you're pouring a standard slab. So what the requirements were makes a difference.
Yeah, and I would say that between everything ice and B32, who's the engineer consultant for the ice system, this is what they do for a living. So I think I would say that it was based off of a refrigerated slab and not necessarily just a regular concrete. Because there was, the size of the aggregate was actually reduced because of what you said. Hey, we got all this piping, we have all these things. We use too large an aggregate, then we're not going to be able to do some of these other things, getting the concrete under the pipe, exposure, not exposure, but enough coverage over the pipes, the tubing and so on. So I would say it was based off of it. Would you agree, Josh?
As we seek out to get the best possible product for the longest amount of time, instead of instant gratification on this, maybe we move the goalpost and say, well, 2 years is 2 years, but that's still going to be way better than having maintenance every couple years with this, right? So, I mean, maybe we just need to hedge our expectations and listen to what the expert says and say, hey, not gonna help.
Yeah, I think that's a good statement, Nathan. And from a staff standpoint, when I say staff, we're talking from the city manager, all the way down to us. And I think it's interesting that Josh and I were in a meeting at one point with Everything Ice and Henkel. And we brought up the remove and replace, and the question back to us was, are you willing to wait, a year, 2 years for this project to get finished, if you remove and replace? And I think they were surprised with our answer, because our answer was, yeah, we'll wait.
Well, if you remove and replace, will you use the same people?
No.
And will you change the design so that they would allow maybe some of those expansion cut? I mean, would you do it so it wouldn't be so difficult for the layers?
Yeah, so those are things that we have had some conversation on.
Right.
I think at this point right now, what we're doing is we with everything that I described, we need to figure out what's the experts say,
Yeah.
and if it is remove and replace, then we'll have a look at, hey, do we need to make some modifications,
Right.
to the design to maybe have a greater chance of success,
Right.
in the future. So that's something that we will have a conversation about.
Right.
But good question. They're all good questions.
Do it again and have the same situation.
Hey, Pete,
Hey, Jeff.
sorry about that.
No.
This sounds like a complicated project or more complicated than what we might have envisioned. But I'm surprised at the timeline. If they were to rip everything out, it would take 2 years to complete the project. Did they describe why it took 2 years to finish it?
Yes. Yeah. So what will most likely happen in a situation like this, if the city says need to remove and replace, there's a potential that Henkel, they have a bond. I don't want to get into all the details, but they have a bond on everything ice. That they took out a bond, because if something happens, they want to be covered. So if they pull that bond, what generally happens is a bond company, their first response will be no response. Generally is what happens. So soon you get bond companies, you get insurance companies, and you get contractors. So that's why we in the staff report indicated that it could take up to 24 months because of that situation. Now, if that doesn't happen, if everything ICE were to say, you know what, we agree, we're going to do it, we're going to take care of it. Potentially, it could be done earlier. Everything ICE early on when we brought it up, they did say that they're already booked up with other projects, and to get you into the schedule might take some time, and that's a thing with this too, Jeff, is no disrespect to Henkel or to everything ICE. We don't know if they're bluffing, if this is actual or not. But when we hear this information, we take it as like, all right, this is what may happen, and that's what we're basing our decisions on. So that's why if we say up to 24 months, that's one of the reasons.
Any other questions or feedback? Sorry, this has been an immensely frustrating process for you all. It's, yeah. I have been there in my own work life, and it's terrible.
So yeah, so we'll as we move along, so on, we'll keep up to speed. Thanks.
Okay. Next on the agenda is project update on the Fitch Family Indoor Aquatic Center, and hopefully some positive updates.
Yeah, with Fitch, if you go by, there's Courtney, Josh, and I, we sit in on a construction meeting every Tuesday morning, get updates, and so as of right now, as of Tuesday morning, there were three contractors on site, which is the most we've had at any one time. So we do have Sand Construction who is out there that's actually working on the piping for the aquatic portion of it. They got to put some of that stuff in before the footings can be laid over the top of them. All Star Concrete is there. Forget the one. Brockway there. So Brockway was there. So if you go by, We are putting in, they're laying the footings. They're getting the utilities in, the piping. They'll start pouring the foundations, and then we'll get ready for erecting the steel. So that's I think late August. I think is what they're talking. Maybe we'll start seeing some steel go up, then precast panels, and so on. I think one of the real positives thus far is soil construction has been testing anytime holes are being dug. They are testing the soil, and if the meter reads more than 10 parts per million, then we call Impact 7G, who's an environmental consultant, and then they'll come up, they'll retest, and then we'll figure out a plan. Thus far, we have not had one soil sample even close to that 10 parts per million. The other concern that we had was with groundwater in digging the holes. So any of the holes that have been dug thus far, there has been no groundwater that has been seeping into the holes. The only water that we've had is from rain. So that's another real positive. Again, we're saving the northeast corner where a lot of the contamination was. We're saving that to the very end. That will be the last disruption of the site. So as of right now, there's a lot of shop drawings, submittals, requests for information. Some of the alphabet soup, it's taken us a while, but when you see RFI and ASI, CCDs and PCOs and CCOs and all these different things. But we're managing that as best we can. So things are going well. We're picking colors. There's some things that come up that we have had to do some change orders. The rubble that they found in the southwest corner. I think I've mentioned before. We've had we didn't have cubbies. It's one thing that we didn't put in there, but the funding, the bids, everything. So we got some cubbies in the multi-purpose space. There's other things that have come up and that we're taking care of. So overall, it's been going very well. We did have a conversation with electric in regards to solar panels. There's other buildings with the city of Athens that are looking at solar panels as well. So we might do one RFP for all the buildings, and then we might even city as a whole wind up bidding all those projects out at the same time. But that is going to be a separate project. Otherwise, if we do it now, there is just going to have to wrap it into the project and everything. So with it, we're going to design it, and we will do solar maybe as early as the spring of 2026. With the building still on track. That's what they told us on Tuesday, right, Courtney? Still on schedule, which is to open maybe sometime the fall of 25. So maybe around November times. I guess anything on that? I'm sure there's something, but we don't have to go into the nitty gritty detail. But
A lot of moving parts, I'm sure.
But I know we've been happy with the team, that we have, and everybody's looking out for the city's interest. We have been told several times, and that's probably a low estimation, that we're a very involved owner in the project, but we really want to make sure that this project is for the users, for the public, for our residents. They're the ones that are paying for it. So we're doing everything that we can to make sure that this project is a success.
Awesome. Any feedback for Keith or questions? All right. Next item on the agenda is the monthly report.
So there's lots of good things in the report. Just mention a few things that, or I guess the commission or the report has things that have been going on. Some of the things that moving forward. One thing, we do have a ice arena manager as of July 1 at the Ames ISU Ice Arena. Michael Lady has officially started, joining us from Portland, Oregon. They were hockey and operations manager in Portland, or actually in Washington, and has some experience as an athletic director as well and physical education teacher. So he's hit the ground running over there. I'm sure at these upcoming commission meetings, we'll bring him in and introduce him to you all. But hit the ground running, he's doing a great job, and we're glad to have him part of the team. Another thing coming up, just so all the commission members are aware, the second annual Duck Derby is out and up and running. So opportunity for people if they want to volunteer. The event will be on Monday, September 2nd. So the last day Furman Aquatic Center is open. The event will take place at 6:30 p.m. At the Lazy River. Last year we sold 807 ducks, so we're looking to exceed that number this year. And like I said, anybody interested in volunteering for the event, any donations or prize donations that could contribute to the event for participants or to contribute to the Youth Scholarship Fund are available. And always, like I said, opportunities to adopt a duck to participate in the race. So and that'll be coming up on September 2nd.
Like to echo what Corey's saying in regards to the hiring front. We are in the process of hiring maintenance workers. We have 4 positions open. We have held on-site interviews yesterday and today. We got 2 more tomorrow and then 1 on Monday. So hopefully we can get those positions filled early to mid-August, and then we'll be hiring and going out for recruitment for a parks maintenance supervisor at that time. So slowly but surely we're getting there. But also our staff has done an excellent job of completing some projects. We just finally completed our last playground at Christopher Gardner Park. It's a really great setup. Really nice. Staff did an excellent job. And then we'll be getting some more playgrounds installed later this fall, but we have multiple other projects that we'll be completing yet this summer. So.
All right. Any questions for Courtney or Joshua? Things are looking great out there. I'm glad the rain let up so you can actually get things done and not just be dodging mud puddles. All right. Next item on the agenda is commission member comments. Any comments? It's not the Ames Park system, but I've been closely following. Is it at Story County Conservation or is it the Iowa Arboretum? They have a new tree house. Or is that the Arboretum? Okay. So out by Luther, Iowa, there's another accessible playground that they are just finishing and it looks really neat. So yeah. Anyone's looking for a little road trip.
Can you remind me also the question about the west, what's the park over in Hillside?
The new one?
No, the one that's will eventually get a splash pad.
Oh, Daly.
Oh yeah, yeah. Where's that splash pad? Are you staying way away from that?
I don't know.
I've had some people ask me about that.
Yeah, we don't shy away from anything.
Yeah.
So
It's going to be round. And flat, right?
yeah. So with that, we've been working with a consultant on the splash pad.
Yeah.
With it, so the latest development has been now they have come to us and said that we might be able to get a waiver because we already have existing restrooms. We might be able to get a waiver for adding additional restrooms. We would still just need to have some outdoor showers available for people to rinse off before and after they use the splash pad. So a consultant has been trying to work with the state to get an answer on that. So we have a lot of the plans, ready to go for the splash pad, the controls, that type of thing. We're really waiting to get an answer, because if we need to add some restrooms, then we need to get that designed. But the goal is still that we'd like to get it out for bid, maybe November, December, and have the project constructed next year. We got a lot of things going on. That's
Yeah, I
actually when I
know.
always looked at Joshua and Courtney. It's like, have I missed anything or not? So
Yeah, just everywhere is still just fighting so many, labor shortages and just supply shortages. Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, any other comments, feedback? All right, our next meeting is August 15th, 2024 at 4 p.m. right here in the chambers. If anyone would care to make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right, meeting is adjourned.